Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, Karen demands I cover my tattoo. I, 19 female, recently got a tattoo on the back of my upper arm, around 6 centimeters in length. For context, I live with my parents and I go to university full-time. I also work around 25 hours every week. I don't pay rent, but I do use my own money for essentially everything else. To add, this is very normal where I'm from. I know a lot of people on this sub are from states where there's a strong push for being out of the house by the time you're 18, but that's practically unheard of here, unless you have rich parents who can support you to do so. You cannot attend uni, and rent in my city, it's so unaffordable. Basically, I knew my parents didn't like tattoos, but I really wanted one and thought they'd be a little upset but get over it after a few days. My dad did just that, told me he hates it, then moved on straight away. My mom, on the other hand, reacted horribly. She didn't speak to me at all for 2 weeks, like refused to look at me if I tried talking to her. And now it's been about a month. She's speaking, but does not want me to be around anyone she knows without covering my arm. When people come over to the house, I have to cover my arm. When I go out to local shopping centers where I might run into people she knows, at a wedding I'm going to soon, etc. She's saying all this because she's terrified of people gossiping about her. Every time I bring it up, she says things like, "I don't want to hear it from everyone. They're all going to talk about it." This is probably partially true. Definitely not to the extent she thinks it's going to be. Literally, no one cares that much about me. But I do come from a super judgmental family who will definitely think it's stupid and make comments about it to me. My mom, for some reason, thinks she'll be like a bad parent or something. Not sure, but she clearly thinks it's on her for some reason. Now, I'm not totally opposed to covering it up. However, it's the middle of the summer right now, and like 36 Celsius almost every day, so it's super impractical. The biggest thing, though, is more about how terrible it makes me feel. I know it's like irrational or whatever, but having to cover it up makes me feel like I'm this disgusting person who shouldn't be around people, and I hate it. This tattoo is a part of me, and it's crappy that this part of me is so terrible I can't even let people see it. The people she's trying to impress, all of my extended family, are not particularly great people, and I don't respect or care about what they think of me, so I don't care if they talk smack about me. I've always kind of stuck to my guns here, and I told her that I'm not doing that, and she's gotta accept me for it. However, every single conversation we're having now is just a never-ending argument. I don't know, I don't feel like I'm the jerk, but the way that she keeps saying stuff like, "That's the rule when you live with me," although she still would want me to cover it up around her family if I did move out. Any external opinion could help. Everyone sucks here. You're an adult and your mom shouldn't be trying to dictate your choices anymore. But you knew your parents would hate the tattoo and you chose to get it anyway, knowing that you had to live at home for at least a few more years. So you made your choice. The price of peace in your home is wearing sleeve lengths that cover the tattoo. Only you can decide if you want to keep fighting this battle. As someone who lives in a country with a housing crisis, forget this noise. Unfortunately for everyone involved, people can't move out fully and start adulting until they're at least 22 and out of university. Parents who provide housing for their adult kids need to recognize that they are adults now. OP should not have to wait to make basic decisions about herself. These types of living situations work with mutual respect. You're a family unit, but you are also an adult. Her tattoo does not affect her parents in any way, nor is it a sustained lifestyle choice. She's totally not the jerk for getting a tattoo. Her father is reasonable. Her mother is ridiculous for expecting long sleeves in the summer. In general, your living situation doesn't change your choices. It's a tattoo, bro. She could have just waited and kept the peace and enjoyed her rent-free life. The exact same thing can be said about her mom. It's just a tattoo. Not the jerk. Your parents want you to live there. They don't charge you rent to incentivize you to stay. That doesn't give them a say in your choices. To use your funds to try and control another person is a crappy thing to do. Make it clear to your parents that you can move out if they are so uncomfortable. If you want to compromise yourself for money, you can do that too. I personally would not be able to hold any love in my heart for someone who wanted to have me compromise myself for money though. I'd get out. Yup, you're the jerk. You want to live by your own rules? Then go live on your own. By your own admission, you're only able to survive based on living off your parents, but refuse to live by their rules. Higher education is nice, but not mandatory. The arrogance is just uncanny. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mom? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for refusing to sit at the kids' table at my brother-in-law's wedding? I'm 28 female. My husband, who's 30, and I were invited to my husband's brother's wedding in the new year. For some context, we do not live in the same country as his family. We live in the US and they live in the UK, and we're trying to save for a house, so we really weren't planning on going on a holiday this year. Wedding is in July of 2024. Truth be told, I'm rather excited for this trip. I love his family and the UK, but my husband is stressed as it's going to cost us a lot of money, upwards of $5,000, including flights, hotel at the wedding venue, trains, etc. Also, for some more important backstory info, my husband's family hate each other. I mean, a nasty divorce that led to parents not speaking to each other for years. Most of the siblings, including brother-in-law, sided with the mom in the divorce. However, my husband has made it a point to not choose and is very close to both of his parents still. Both parents have new families with kids. Now, 3 months ago, my husband's mother told us that we would be sitting at the table with all the other siblings. Most siblings are under 15 years old. The youngest is 8. My husband asked if we could potentially sit with his dad's side of the family or his grandparents, who we are also very close to. However, his mother told him that we are the only neutral family members, so therefore we need to sit with the siblings as this is their first time meeting. The wedding party is worried about potential family drama arising. My husband and I were fine with this as long as we're sitting together. However, a few days ago, my brother-in-law asked my husband to be a groomsman, to which he accepted. I was thrilled for my husband as he isn't super close to his brothers. I asked where I will be sitting now that he would be at the wedding party's table. My husband just shrugged and said they likely won't move tables around that much. I asked the bride, who said I was still set with the siblings. I asked politely if I could be moved to the table with the grandparents. Again, I'm extremely close to them. The bride politely told me that I'm the only neutral party who has met all of the siblings, so I could manage the questions and potential arguments arising. Again, this is the first time that they're all meeting. I told her that I appreciate this is something that worries her, but I'm not spending thousands of dollars to be a babysitter. She said she understood, but the seating is final. We argued a little more, but she ended the argument by saying I should be happy to be sitting with the kids because I work with kids and I should be flattered the family trusts me enough with this responsibility. I began to argue, but the bride snapped that if I couldn't stand kids this much, I shouldn't have become a teacher. Please don't get me wrong. I love his siblings, but they are all at least 15 years younger than I am. I also love kids. I'm a teacher, but I want to relax and have a good time at the wedding. I also forgot to mention there will be cousins and kids from the bride's family at the table as well. I just made up my mind. I will not be sitting at the kids' table. I'm going to wander the reception, drink, and have a good time. I'll be pulling up a chair with the grandparents. I do not think it's a big ask for me to be moved to a table, but maybe I'm wrong. My mom and husband still think I'm overreacting and I should just sit with the kids. But my coworkers and friends think I should not be forced to babysit and or manage potential family fights. So, am I the jerk? To clarify a few things, unfortunately we bought the plane tickets already and they are not refundable, or a refund would have been my first choice. They never formally labeled this table as the kids' table, they refer to it as the siblings' table. My husband has 3 younger full brothers and they are adults. None of them are sitting at the siblings' table. This table is completely made up of half-siblings that are 15 and under. I'm the only one who is calling a spade a spade. I showed my husband this thread, who agreed with all of you that I am being treated unfairly. I do want to add, my husband did tell his brother that if I was sitting at the siblings' table, he could not be a groomsman already. I told him not to worry about this after my argument with the bride. It's clear they want me there regardless, and that's my frustration. My husband and I are having a conversation with them later today. I'll update you. Update. My husband and I Zoomed with the bride and the groom yesterday to address our concerns. For those who told me to just sit at the table because they are likely stressed with the wedding planning, I helped plan my sister's wedding, so I know moving one seat is not a big deal. And I only asked because my husband wasn't sitting with me anymore. The bride just said that she confirmed with the rest of the family that the siblings will all be under my care during the reception. I asked if it would just be my husband's siblings, to which my brother-in-law said, "We don't know yet. There are other family members coming and cousins who might want to sit with their cousins." I would then say, "So this is the kids' table." And my brother-in-law would say, "That's not important." I finally asked, "Are you going to blame me if any family drama comes up?" My brother-in-law just said, "That's why you're there, to prevent family drama." So you were all right about that. And this is where things got interesting. For those who said we were being punished, bingo. The bride adds my mother-in-law into the chat. She tells me to stop being selfish and that if I had a problem with being at the siblings table, it's clear I have a problem being in the family. She also said if I'm not willing to mediate potential family-related questions and problems that might arise, I clearly do not care about my brother-in-law and his bride, and that I want to create problems on their big day. My husband was shocked and asked what makes her say that. My mother-in-law then says that it's clear I've been manipulating my husband away from her family. She accused me of siding with his father in the divorce, and that ever since my husband met me, we've been spending more time with his father's side of the family. I want to mention that their divorce happened almost 20 years ago, and we rarely talk to his father. Her only evidence to this accusation was that I'm not willing to openly side with her. I was completely shocked by these accusations. My husband said that these accusations are rude and inappropriate and demanded my mother-in-law apologize or he will be cutting her off like John did. Mother-in-law started crying. The bride chimed in that we never included them in our wedding, we eloped, and that this was my opportunity to prove myself as a dedicated member of the family. Obviously, this blindsided me as I genuinely had no idea they felt this way. I always go above and beyond for Christmas and birthday gifts. When we visit, I ensure that I dote on their kids, and I always take the ladies of the family out for a ladies' brunch. I can understand our wedding situation is upsetting, but if my mother-in-law had voiced this to us 4 years ago, we would have hosted a small ceremony or family celebration. My mother-in-law adds that since I wasn't willing to deal with the family drama at our wedding, I should be willing to deal with it from my brother-in-law. I just sat there, jaw on the floor. My mother-in-law snapped, saying she knew the type of person I was from the second I excluded her from her son's wedding, and I'm a selfish manipulator who wanted to steal her son from her and destroy her family, and that my husband is enabling me by not insisting I put the family's needs before my own enjoyment and babysit the kids during the other son's big day. She was hoping my meltdown would show my son what kind of a person I was. Needless to say, we ended up fighting for a few more minutes before my husband slammed the computer screen down. My husband and I chatted for a moment. He apologized for his family and reassured me he knows none of those things his mother said were true. We turned our phones off and had a date night. John, male 32, my husband's older brother, got in contact with us through Instagram this morning. His wife gave me a call and we talked for hours about what happened. Apparently, the reason they left the family was because my mother-in-law did something similar to John's wife. We'll call her Sandy. Sandy didn't want a big wedding due to drama on her family's side and decided to have a small ceremony with their friends. She invited my mother-in-law, who refused to attend because my father-in-law would be there. Mother-in-law threatened Sandy she would make sure John left her if Sandy didn't exclude John's father from the wedding. Sandy didn't listen and went through with their wedding as planned. Mother-in-law accused Sandy of cheating and baby-trapping John. Sandy was pregnant at the time. My mother-in-law stalked Sandy and took photos of her out with her friends and with her brother, sending them to John as proof of her infidelity. Mother-in-law posted these photos to Facebook, captioning it, "Caught you, cheater." Relatives began harassing both John and Sandy. John and Sandy moved away and blocked everyone and have not been in contact with mother-in-law's side of the family ever since. I don't remember this at all, as I had only been with my husband for a year and he didn't want me involved with his family drama. Obviously, I feel awful that this happened to John and Sandy, but they assured me that they forgive both me and my husband. Long story short, Sandy and John are still in contact with the father, how they found out about our situation. John and my husband had a long phone call this morning, to which my husband apologized for enabling his mother. My husband has gone no contact with his mother and brothers for now, and we're going to use our trip to visit my old friends from uni and visit John and Sandy. I'm really excited to meet them. These stories about all of these dramatic, toxic families, they make me so thankful for my family that none of us are like that. Yeah, no wonder so many of these people go no contact with their families. My boyfriend finally bought a gorgeous bouquet of red roses, but it was for another woman. Completely shattered and heartbroken as I'm typing this. Yesterday, I, 28 female, found out in the most cruel way that my longtime boyfriend, 28, of 6 years, has been unfaithful. For the past couple of months, he's been really distant and spending more time than usual at work. I chalked it up to stress since he had started a new job recently. However, I was starting to get suspicious when all of a sudden he started following this gorgeous woman on Instagram who also returned his follow. I curiously asked him who she was, and he replied saying she was just an old school friend, which didn't make a lot of sense since her bio said she was 24 years old, which doesn't place them in the same school year. I just had this nagging feeling that something was off, so I decided to check out her social media. On her Facebook, she had set her status to single and would repost photos of women holding huge red rose bouquets, saying how every girl deserves roses and how much she loves receiving flowers. I had a bad feeling about her and developed an obsession with checking her social media accounts daily. I kept doing that until all of my worst fears were brutally fulfilled yesterday. As I checked her Facebook, I came across what I thought was just another one of her flower posts. That was until I took a closer look at the photo. It was a photo of a man's hand which was holding a bouquet of red roses for her as she caressed the flowers. The man's hand had the exact same Apple Watch that I had bought my boyfriend and that he wears daily, and a mole on the exact place where he has one. I could also tell it was him, as he has naturally hairy hands. The woman's status was also changed from single to in a relationship. Finding out that my boyfriend was not only cheating on me, but also bought a bouquet of flowers for another woman when he never did for me completely shattered me. I haven't confronted him yet, but I've been avoiding him. It's not that hard since he barely pays me any attention these days. I know that there is no coming back from this, and this will be the end of what I thought was a lifetime relationship. I feel a lot of grief and heartbreak, but I also feel a lot of rage. How do I even overcome this? I just can't get his betrayal out of my mind. The best way is to move on. Break up with him however you see fit. Cut ties, block him. Cry, talk to your friends, pick up new hobbies, cry some more. But get him completely out of your life, first and permanently. Would I be the jerk for suing my friend after she wrote a book about me? I, 29 female, have a friend called Maya. Maya and I have been friends for 9 years after meeting in university. Maya went through a lot of mental health issues in her early to mid-20s, which impacted her career prospects. But a couple of years ago, she found an outlet in writing and now writes and publishes her stories online. They're some of the spicy romance variety. I've never read any of them because they're just not my thing, but I know she has a lot of regular readers. Recently, Maya shared that she had been contacted by a small publishing company which publishes ebooks who were interested in publishing one of the stories that she had been sharing online. I was ecstatic for her, as it's a move towards making her writing a profession, which is what she really wants to do. About 3 weeks ago, a mutual friend of ours, Amy, contacted me and asked if I had read any of Maya's current story, as she had looked it up online and she thought it had some eerie similarities to my life. I looked it up and I read a big chunk of it, and it was more than just similarities. It was basically a melodramatic reimagining of my life, specifically about my relationship with my fiance and my complicated relationship with my father. I don't know how relevant this is, but she also altered their characters and certain situations to make the plot pretty toxic. I was devastated and disgusted to say the least. I met up with Maya and asked how she could do this to me. Her explanation was that she was so inspired by my life and the things I had told her that the ideas just came to her. I kept saying they weren't her ideas, they were sensationalized details of my real life. She didn't have a single original thought in the whole story. Maya apologized profusely for hurting me and said that she was embarrassed by how much she had taken from my life, but she really loved writing the book. I told her I wasn't comfortable having my private life aired like that. Maya said nothing in the book was identifiable to me, so it wasn't like she had done anything illegal. And I said, well, we'll see about that. I've contacted lawyers, and they've said suing her would be largely pointless in terms of stopping the book from being published, but starting legal proceedings might scare a small publishing company enough to drop her as an author. I'm seriously considering doing this. Worst case, I can't do anything to stop the book going ahead, but I've caused her an iota of the stress and hurt she's caused me. Best case, this creepy project never sees the light of day. A couple of my friends are saying I shouldn't sue her, but at the end of the day, this is her work and an opportunity for her to make a career for herself and take care of her kid after all that she's been through. I know this could ruin things for her, and I might be acting out of anger, but I really think it's justified after she betrayed my trust like this. Would I be the jerk to go ahead and sue her? Update. For everyone talking about the Streisand effect, I'm not in the US. Court and legal records here are not something you can Google or access easily. That being said, I realize Maya could publicize a lawsuit herself to get publicity, and that ultimately I'm more concerned about anonymity and it's not worth the risk. I will not be proceeding with the lawsuit. Some people suggested reaching out to the publisher privately, and I'm going to look into that. But either way, I won't drag it out into a court process. You would be the jerk, but not for the reason you think. You seem so revenge-focused that you're not thinking about additional long-term damage that you may recklessly cause to yourself. The lawyers are correct that you don't really have a case, but the threat of legal action could dissuade a small publisher from going forward. This is, however, a double-edged sword, since the author and publisher can use legal action as free publicity. Also, keep in mind that filing a lawsuit is a matter of public record. A lawsuit can forever attach this book to you, since Googling you will probably result in finding out that there's a trashy novel that you say is based on your life story. Am I the jerk for making it very clear to my dad that I'm not asking my mom to spend money on his household? My parents divorced when I, 17 male, was 2. Things are not that friendly between them. I'm not sure of the why, just that they prefer to stay apart, and I've always been okay with that. It's my normal, and I never expected them to act all friendly with each other. My dad is remarried, and he has a big blended family at his house. His wife brought 3 kids into the marriage, Dad brought me. They had 3 more kids together. They took in his wife's 2 nieces as well. I'm not really close to my dad, so I'm not really close to any of his other kids. I only spend 1 weekend a month with him now, which was my choice, and the court supported when I was 14. One thing that probably doesn't need to be explained in a lot of detail, but I will mention, is they don't really have a lot, my dad's household. Neither he or his wife have great jobs, no child support is paid, and things are always tight there. When I was younger and was there every other week, it was pretty crappy. Everyone is crammed into the 3 bedrooms they have. Meals were always kinda crappy and not exactly filling most of the time. Christmas and birthdays were very modest as well. My mom never remarried and focused on providing for stability. I never went without with her, and she always did her best to provide me with nice things, both things that I needed and stuff I wanted. My quality of life was better with her, and I was happier with her. It helped that my mom showed me that she cared and that I was a priority. I never really felt that way about my dad, but especially when he remarried and his finances took a bigger hit. It always felt like he was bitter and resentful that I was so much better provided for at my mom's. The other kids at Dad's house were aware that I had it much better with my mom. They resented me for it. Some of them hate me and think I should have been forced to not see my mom so we'd all have the same. This year, Dad told me that I should have more of an understanding and compassion for all of my siblings, and I should talk to my mom about helping me pay for gifts for them. He said I might not be able to afford much, but Mom should be making sure the other kids get something nice from me and showing me how to be a good older brother to all of them. He also mentioned household gifts to make life a little easier. He told me to ask. I made it clear to him that I will not be asking my mom to spend money on his household. Dad's response was that I'm totally old enough to put more care into my family and want to see them all have a better Christmas. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. He has no right to ask that of you. No matter your age, you'll always be his kid, not his provider. This is just horrible, and it might be time to put a little more distance between you. You're getting old enough where you can visit for the day with your dad, then head home. The tension is going to get worse with everyone. You don't need that. This is not your fault, not your problem to solve. Your only job is a relationship with your dad until he makes that impossible. Good luck. Am I the jerk for not wanting to support someone else's kid? My ex, 28 female, had a kid before we were together. There was never an issue when we started dating, and when I got serious, she asked to move into my house with her kid, and I was happy about it. Throughout the relationship, I treated the kid as I would my own. I paid for everything: sports club, insurance, tutoring, etc. She receives $389 a month in child support from the father, and he sees the kid maybe once a month. Fast forward 2 years, we have our own kid, and we're one big happy family. We'd been talking about getting married, and when we did, I would adopt her first kid, which the dad was okay with. I proposed to her, and 2 months later saw that she had been cheating on me. I was crushed and asked her to move out of my house. After she moved out, I offered to give her $1,600 a month for my kid, and she also got a part-time job making minimum wage. She says I should give the same amount for the other kid as well because I was going to adopt them when we got married. I said no. She took me to child support, hoping to get more money, but she's only getting $700 now for my kid. I've only been giving her the $700 for the last 3 months. She's spreading rumors about me and trying to ruin my reputation. She also is trying to guilt trip me, saying the kid's life has been turned upside down because of me. Am I the jerk for not wanting to support someone else's kid in this situation? Not the jerk. Had you actually adopted the kid, then legally speaking, yes, you would need to provide child support. As it stands, just because you previously paid for things does not mean that you're legally obligated to pay child support. It sounds like that kid's father is still around, unless he already signed away his parental rights because you were planning to adopt him. Either way though, you have no legal obligation to her first kid as he's not yours. The kid's life has been turned upside down because of her, not you. Not the jerk. I'm sorry for the kid, but none of this is your fault or your obligation. Maybe something nice you could do for your own kid is put the $900 you save each month on child support into a college fund. Obviously, you're not obligated to pay for someone else's kid. However, let me offer another perspective. I'm a stepdad. I separated from my partner for about 6 months a few years ago, and it was really hard on her daughter. We made an agreement that even though I wasn't paying child support or anything, the biological dad paid child support, but was 100% absent, I would still be in her life. She came to stay with me every second weekend, and we would talk on the phone between visits. Also, any big events, birthdays, Christmas, etc., we would rearrange the schedule so I could see more of her. Now in my case, we managed to patch things up, but even if we hadn't, I wanted to remain part of her life. I had been effectively living as her dad for years at that point and didn't want to just abandon her. Now you don't have to feel the way that I felt, but don't let the mother get in the way of your relationship with the kid. If you've been their dad for the last 2 years, you're allowed to love them as your own. You're allowed to be a part of their life. They're probably devastated at what happened, and it's not their fault at all. This doesn't mean you have to send money, but you could spend time with them, or have them stay with you, or whatever arrangement you and your ex can come up to. You don't have to do any of that, but you can, and it would definitely help the kids who are probably going through a lot at the moment. Dude, shut up. Karen X turned my house from a 4-bedroom into a 3-bedroom, so I'm suing her. My ex and I divorced about 15 years ago, and we have shared custody of our daughter. In the divorce, she wanted our house, but I fought hard against it because it's been my family home for 3 generations before I inherited it. In the end, we came to a compromise that was signed off by the judge. Basically, she gets to live in the house rent-free until our daughter turns 18. Then I get it back. I had to pay the utilities, maintenance, and property taxes the entire time. In addition, she can't make any modifications or upgrades to the house without my written permission. She's solely responsible for the cost, and the work has to be performed by an insured and legally licensed professional. I've been sending her move-out notices for months in anticipation of my daughter's 18th birthday, and recently that came to pass. The day after, I showed up to the house with a contractor because I wanted some work done before I moved back in. At first, she refused to let me in until I reminded her that I'm the legal owner of the house. According to our divorce agreement signed by the judge, she's no longer allowed to be there, and I'll call the police if she doesn't let me in. She got the point and opened the door. I was surprised nothing was packed, and it didn't seem like she was moving at all. We were arguing as I walked through and inspected my house. She wanted extra time, and I told her to be out by the end of the week or I'll have her stuff thrown out. When I walked into the living room, I was shocked into silence. The living room was expanded by a wall being torn down and having the bedroom that was once there merged into it. She turned my 4-bedroom house into a 3-bedroom one. I know I didn't sign off on this, and from the looks of it, the work was probably done by her boyfriend and not a professional. I yelled at her and told her I'm going to sue her for everything she has, then I left. She went crying to our daughter and my family, and now everyone is telling me to give her another month to find a place and to not sue her. My daughter is firmly on her mother's side and thinks I'm the jerk for kicking her mother out a couple of weeks before Christmas and suing her. This is why I'm here. I think I'm right, and legally I am right, but my daughter's opinion of me matters to me. Am I the jerk? Edit to answer some questions. 1. My daughter is a freshman in college, and I rent her an apartment near campus where she lives by herself. She has a room in my house, and I assume she will have a room wherever her mother lives. 2. My ex fought for the house and had a chance of winning, even though we had shared custody because I make much more than her. I offered her the compromise, and she took it because her attorney told her it was a good deal and there's an equal chance I could win, which would leave her without a house. 3. My relationship with my daughter is good. She didn't tell me about the renovation because early on I told her I don't want to talk or hear anything about her mother unless it's something that's affecting her, my daughter, negatively. My ex was done to me, and I wanted to spend time with my daughter building new memories. Edit to answer more questions. My daughter is a wonderful girl, and I couldn't ask for a better daughter. She has a big heart and cares about her mother. I've made it a point to never talk about her mother since the divorce, so I'm sure she doesn't fully understand our situation. I plan to talk to her. 2. I inherited the house during our marriage, and since we were still in the honeymoon phase, I placed her name on the deed. After that, I remortgaged the house twice, once to get a better rate and once for money we needed. All of this led to my attorney advising that I compromise. He said there's a real risk of losing the house, so I compromised. I don't know where you live and the worth of your house, but where I live, there's a huge price difference between a 3-bedroom house and a 4-bedroom one. Your ex's actions caused you to lose tens, if not $100,000. Not the jerk, and sue her. She's had 15 years to find an alternative accommodation. You even sent her reminders. And she violated the agreement by having unauthorized work done? Yeah, just no. Kick her out. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. Christmas is a day. She intentionally messed up the value of your house without your permission, against the judge's orders. Sue her. Well, what do you think? Should OP sue his ex or not? Please let us know. My mother stole $160,000 from me. I, 24 female, found out earlier this year that I was supposed to receive around $160,000 in inheritance money when my father passed away. I found out by looking into a cabinet in our house. I was compelled to do so because my mother acts rich or poor whenever it suits her, plus other strange behavior. I found a letter that was addressed specifically to me from the life insurance company that had my inheritance. All I needed to do was submit some paperwork and they'd give me a check. I'm not sure how, but my mother somehow submitted documents for me and even cashed the check that was in my name. I'm also not sure why she felt entitled to it when she got $500,000 in inheritance herself. When I confronted her about it, she obviously did not take it well. She was very adamant that it's her money, until I informed her that, after I found the documents, I called the life insurance company and received photocopies of the check, the submitted documents, etc. After I told her that, she tried negotiating with me, saying that she can give me $10,000 to start with and then $2,000 every month. I said no. I said she will guilt me into delaying her payments if we go that route. She tells me she will be homeless if I get all the money at once. I eventually make her show me her bank statements. As far as I know, she has around $330,000. In addition, she's been making 6 figures with her job for the past 3 years. Homeless? Yeah, right. I told her I need a good amount of money if I want to have any chance of moving out. I wanted to move out with my friend, but my mom took way too long to give me any money. I received $50,000 from her. Like a week or so later, she started asking if she could borrow $20,000 for a month. She said that she needs it in her bank account so that the lender can approve of the condo or house she wants to buy. She asked if I would be okay, and I stupidly told her that I'd be getting grants from school too. She then wanted to borrow $20,000 on top of the grant money by passive-aggressively mentioning it whenever she could. A few weeks later, she forced me to go with her to the bank to withdraw $20,000. This was on October 3rd. On November 23rd, I asked her to give me $2,000. I told her it's been almost 2 months and I want a portion of it back via text. She gives me the silent treatment, in text and in person. The next day, I try calling her. She starts crying hysterically, saying, 1. I knew I shouldn't have trusted you with money. 2. What are you doing? Things you shouldn't be? Are you gambling? Why are you so mean? You ruined my holiday. You've ruined my life. You're abnormal. You're just doing this because you're behind in life and you're desperate. You don't have utilities to pay for. I spent so much money on food the past month. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've never told her to buy me food or make me food, but she always uses it as a form of guilt. A couple of days later, we have a 4-hour argument. During this argument, I was so disgusted with her behavior that I told her I want nothing to do with her. A couple of days after that, to my surprise, she comes into my room and asks me to hug her. She starts crying and says that she just suppresses her thoughts and feelings. She says she'll give me $500 now and then $500 on December 22nd. What? I swallowed my anger for a couple of days, but then I could no longer hold it in. I wasn't giving her the silent treatment, but I wasn't looking at her or initiating any form of talking. She notices this and starts asking what's wrong. She goes, "It's the money, isn't it?" And then repeats the same thing she did last time. "Are you gambling? You have no utilities," etc. And again, she made it very clear that she wants to buy a condo or a house. I just can't remember which. I told her I'm mad at her because you told me you needed $20,000 for a month. It's been over 2 months and now you're still not giving it back, so you lied. After this, she started acting like she was about to cry and then she left the house. She then transferred another $500. I haven't talked to her since. It infuriates me that she thinks she's entitled to this money. Why do you need a house? You're getting old and you're single. Secondly, not only was this money only in your account in the first place because you committed fraud, but now I let you borrow money and you're going to treat me like it's an allowance? It's my money legally. Get over it. You already got $500,000 before you took my money. Since I was 18, I've been working minimum wage jobs. She's made it so clear as day that she thinks her needs are way above mine. I don't have utilities. I don't have a career yet, so I'm less important. Even if that's factually true, I'm your kid, and that money is legally mine. Also, I just want to share this example of her behavior that I just remembered. When I was 19, I was working at a tutoring place in addition to a restaurant while taking 16 units in college with no car. I was leaving the house one day to go get a haircut. My mom then asked me, "Where are you going?" I told her I'm going to go get a haircut. She then says, verbatim, "Really? You're supposed to be using that money to help me." That's how entitled she is. Like, OMG. At this point, she received $660,000, while her kid, who is a full-time student with 2 jobs and no car, is not important enough to use the money they earned from their job to go get a haircut. I'm so mad, and I just have a huge problem with getting this taken care of because I hate making people uncomfortable. This is also why I usually cannot blindside a person by randomly bringing an issue up. I usually have to text them first, but I'm starting to think that that's never a good idea. Ugh. Get an attorney and sue her. She's manipulating you left and right. And she's falsified documents and stole your money. Press charges. Get a lawyer. Mail fraud, insurance fraud, identity theft. Why are you being miserable for her? She's very likely ruining your credit and aspects of your future. You don't owe her anything. You need to stop this before it's too far. Your mother stole $160,000 from you and you're worried about making her uncomfortable? She obviously wasn't uncomfortable forging your signature to steal the money. She has the money in her account and you should demand she repay it in full immediately. She's a crappy person for continuing to manipulate you, and so what if she suddenly can't afford something as a direct consequence of her theft? She should be grateful you haven't retained an attorney and come after her or called the police. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.